field blast off, watch them all fall. This is AFC North Talk. Got me hype, it's about to be a touchdown. Got the Ravens, Steelers, Bengals, and the Browns. Are you listening? It's time to get it hype. Tune in when the season poppin'. Yeah, we going live. Hey, knock 'em out. Hey, first down, going hard. Yes, indeed. AFC North Talk. Let's go. Hey, AFC North Talk.
Welcome to another edition of AFC North Talk presented by Manscaped. We're going to be talking about Manscaped a little bit later. Shout out to everybody here watching the live stream and watching the replay. Big new guest today. J-Rock Gurda couldn't make it. And as we told y'all, with Tony out, we're trying different hosts. And J-Rock here representing the Steelers. And Q says something very important.
We done switched to Mason Rudolph, y'all. Like we done we on our third guy.
It's not easy to come at this time. Respect to J-Rock.
Rudolph.
Yeah.
But J-Rock, go ahead and introduce yourself, man, for the people that aren't familiar with you, bro.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, man. My name is J-Rock, man. I go by J-Rock, the potty man on social media. I do my own sports podcast, and I'm here today working with the guys on AFC North Talk to represent the Steelers.
What part of Pittsburgh are you from, man? Because I know you're from Pittsburgh. I can hear it.
Check this out, kid. I'm from West Baltimore, man.
Baltimore?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've been around Pittsburgh a lot, but if you go there like Homewood and everything like that, it sounds a lot like Baltimore, like some of the accents you would hear with. I went to school in Youngstown, so I would hear all these Pittsburgh accents and be like, why do y'all sound like y'all from Baltimore? And be like, no, that's how we talk.
By the way, this is not necessarily a third quarterback type of thing. I see here saying Guru got replaced. We're like I said, we're
working with the schedules that we have. It's tough with AFC North Talk because we do it 2 times a week, trying to make sure we have people to fill certain roles. So every once in a while, somebody's going to fill in, or somebody might be able to take over more consistently because they're more available in the spots that they are. It says nothing to the quality of whoever's filling in that role. Just we got to make sure that we have somebody active when it's time to play the game. So you know what I mean? Like we just got to do what we got to do.
Make sure you check J-Rock's social and channel. Okay, Professor Chaos here says, hey, look, the AFC North thumbnail is accurate. Now, by the way, it's crazy because so J-Rock, I don't know how long had you been watching the North. But the Steelers, even though Tony spent a big portion last year, I think, in fourth place, he kept saying, like, but I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to be the L. So the Steelers are the only team. All of us has been the L. Yeah. The Steelers are the only team. And I think that's what he's alluding to. That has not been in fourth place since we started the AFC North Talk.
So we put the L, the logo for the team that last place is in the L. Yeah, it took me a while to make that logo since I'm in charge of it. And let me tell you something, that thing will be ready. Okay.
Like, during the playoffs.
Oh no, yeah. Week 18. Yeah, we wild card Wednesday. Yes, it's there, dog. It's gonna be ready. It's gonna be ready. Especially if Pittsburgh's the L. Oh yes. I gotta get the 4. You know what? Y'all just reminded me. I gotta dig up the template so I can make sure it updates to the new program, so I got no hang-ups on when this thing gets out.
Oh man, brutal.
Legit didn't get that thumbnail in.
Yeah, no. Last year, I was like, Q, give me the new logo because the Ravens were the L. Q, can I get the new logo? Q, I need it. And Q's like, I'll get it to you. I'll get it to you. I'll get it to you.
Q started that out.
Oh yeah. You know what I mean? I had to hold out on Cap, to make sure.
I had to hold out the year prior. I was like, we got to get the Bengals out of that L, bro. We got to get them out of there.
I remember Tony talking about it. I remember watching Tony talking about it. Yeah, I remember.
Play on the review says, did we scare Guru off? Guru have, and I know you guys are gonna complain about it. He has some work stuff. Right? Remember, he works for NBA TV. He has some work stuff to do.
Yeah, and they're getting in the full swing of the NBA season, so it's tough.
Yeah. It is. Okay, let's talk about the first game. We had 2 Saturday games, 2 Sunday games. By the way, if you follow us at Twitter, we put out there retweet a GIF of your team if your team was one of the victorious teams. But let's talk about this Bengals team. Bengals pulling this game out at the end. hell of a play by T. Higgins. T. Higgins saying, "Nah, I'm gonna make this money," right? And then Tyler Boyd. Oh, by the way, they need to stop with the fake throw by a non-quarterback. Those plays for the Bengals ain't there this year. There was not a pick. I forgot who it was. It wasn't Boyd. They made sure Boyd wasn't it.
This time. I think
It was the tight end.
this
Now,
time.
how did you get to that point? How do you, Irv Smith, come throw this ball? How do you get here?
And it was a short, right?
I was just mad that it was just like red zone. I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, why are we doing a trick play at this part? Like, if you're gonna do it, you got to be like 50 or something. Like, they did that at like, I feel like it was like the 30-yard line, dog. I feel like
What point of the game was that? What was the score?
It was early.
It was early. They was trying to get that spark. They was trying to get that spark going. You know, get the energy up.
I think it was in the first. It was in the first quarter because that was a field goal.
I think it was in the first quarter.
But look, I will say this about the Browns. So you talk. I said, can the Browns? Sorry, the Bengals. The Bengals defense showed up. Sorry. Can the Bengals defense showed up, right? And oddly enough, the Bengals defense hasn't been the spark. The spark has been on the offensive side. Bengals defense obviously had a big loss with Reader early in the game. We know how important Reader is, and you can see how much it's funny because A said like, nah, I don't believe in whatever the running back. I can't even remember the running back for the
Alexander Madison. He didn't play though. He didn't play in this game.
No, I know. But you said the backup. You said like if he's the backup for Madison, I know he's not gonna be good. That's what you said in the preview. I'm like, there's gonna be there's no running game here. And no, this guy had like a career day.
He did. He was a dog.
Yeah, so the defensive side did not necessarily hold the end of the bargain, but the offensive side, again, Chase made a couple big plays and he left the game, and hopefully he's healthy soon, coming back soon. But T. Higgins in that play, and then Boyd in the field goal drive also with some clutch catches. Right. The only thing is, and this is where I'm curious, is I felt that you can see Zach Taylor trying to pull back a little bit of the, okay, let's run the ball a little bit less, right? Like I was expecting Mixon to have more carries and Brown, and you know it wasn't like they had no carries, but I feel like in the previous game he had more carries.
The way the game was with them being down by so much, like 2 touchdowns, it just kind of you can't really run when you're down by 2 touchdowns. So
true, but early in the game too, though. I feel like early in the game, like in the first 2 drives, I felt like there was balance, and after that, it was like Zach. And I think this is the best version of the Bengals when they're balanced. But again, they pulled this game. Ace, what do you thought about this game, man?
I mean, it was a roller coaster. I think like you hit it off. I think the Bengals got down early in this one. They were lucky to be down 10-0 at the half. And literally they were only down 10-0 because of the defense, right? Forcing those 2 turnovers. You had Mike Hilton. Mike Hilton had the game of his life in this game. I know everybody's talking about Jake Browning. I know everybody's talking about T. Higgins. Mike Hilton went crazy in this game. This was a Mike Hilton game. I'm sure J-Rock already knows. Like Mike Hilton does the things that not too many people talk about, but he has a huge impact on the game. Him getting that interception in the red zone was major, right? Because that stopped them from getting any points there. And so the offense came out extremely flat in the first half. But I'm not going to attribute it to the offense struggling. I said the whole week, this is a good Vikings defense. Like this is a top 5 defense. This is a defense that not too many people had figured out with Brian Flores. And as the game started, the Bengals kind of struggled with that offense. Now, there was some head scratching kind of plays like Sonny alluded to with the tight end, trick play that didn't really work itself out. The Bengals went immediately down the field, and it seemed like, all right, they figured something out. On the first drive, they go down, they settle for the field goal. Okay, that's cool. They literally never really went back again. They were able to trick Browning with the heavy blitz look that dropped back into like 7 guys, which they talked about that all week. Like they're either going to send the guys or they're going to drop them back. And they definitely confused them on one of them, and he ended up throwing an interception. And at first, it was looking like, man, this is tough. We're at home. How are the Bengals going to pull this out? Then they started to come to life in the second half. But really, to me, The fourth quarter is where they figured it out. And I was with you, Sonny. I was sitting there like, man, they got to run the ball. They got to run the ball. But all of a sudden, they figured something out through the air, and they were completing everything. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, I'm expecting something bad to happen, and it just never happened. Only good plays started to happen. You talked about Jamar Chase made like some key catches there. He goes out the game. And I felt like the defense rallied around DJ Reader getting out of this game or losing DJ Reader in this game, right? They lose DJ Reader, and they lost DJ Ivy. At one point, they lost Alex Kappa. He was able to come back in and solidify the offensive line. But it seemed like one of the biggest plays in that game was where they stopped them with where the Vikings tried to do the two QB sneaks, like 3rd and inches, 4th and inches, and they stopped them both times without DJ Reader. That, to me, was the biggest play in the game, turning it over on downs. If you talk about momentum, I'm one of those people that believe in momentum. If you don't think momentum is real in football, I don't know what to tell you. Momentum is real. It happened when that play swung the momentum in the Bengals' favor, and then you started to see them just gel. The one thing I will say about Jake Browning, it seems like every game that he's been in, he is not just targeted specific receivers. I believe there were like 13 different targets in this game that at least had a catch. He has been able to spread the ball around. I had an idea that he would do, like, he had a very small sample size against the blitz. So I'm not going to say I knew that he was going to do well, but his sample size against the blitz was good. And it continued to be kind of good in this game. They won the turnover differential battle. They were able to force some stuff there. And then you have the situation that was kind of weird where it's like Trey Hendrickson goes offside slightly. It's like right there. And Jermaine Pratt has the pick six, but then it gets called back. Right. And I felt like the Vikings got the momentum back when that happened, right? I'm like, okay, how are they going to come back from this? We're able to force overtime, and then we come out of overtime and we go 3 and out. So, the Vikings still had an opportunity to win this game. But like Sonny said, that running back that they had, amazing. And then it seemed like everything was going their way. Like the Addison play, like he's almost sacked. He's going to the ground. He flicks it out. Jordan Addison catches it from almost hitting the ground, runs in for a touchdown. His second touchdown looked like something else crazy. It was like, man, it's just not our day. But then things started to work for the Bengals. And Jake Browning, he stood on business. He was standing on business the entire, a lot of people were like, this is going to be, his humbling moment. He stood on business in this game. And, when he ended this game, he came out the whole week, said it wasn't about revenge or anything. And I was like, I didn't even think about it being a revenge game because I wasn't aware of his history. I knew that he played for the Vikings, but I didn't know it ended as bad as it did. And so, he wins the game. He immediately looks at the camera and was like, they never should have effing cut me, this and that. And then goes on to say that these guys had this man in the hotel waiting to see if he made the roster, never called him. Never called him. He had to call his agent. His agent had to reach out to them to find out that he was not on the team. Nasty. I had no idea that part of it
they had that man sweating the checkout time.
Yes, they had him sweating the checkout time. They didn't even have the decency to call dude back. So he had a huge chip on his shoulder in this game. But like he said, the game wasn't just about him. There were a lot of players that really stepped up in this game to make sure that they made plays when they needed to. And this was a total team effort, man. The things that they did, the coaching staff in the second half, a lot of people were trying to figure out who would figure out the Vikings defense. It seems like the Bengals did. The Vikings hadn't given up a touchdown in a month, fellas. Like it's kind of crazy how crazy that defense really is. But that was a huge win. We needed it at home. The Bengals, this was the fourth. It was some kind of crazy record. It was like 4 and 120 something. Like the Bengals are like 4 and 128 and 0 when they lead when they're down in the fourth quarter by 14 points. This was one of those dubs. So it was a crazy victory. The last one that was in recent history was against the Seattle Seahawks. I remember that game where they came back and beat Seattle. But it was just evident the moxie that this team has, the mental fortitude to push on. And, we're not sitting here talking about, that was an offsides and we got cheated or anything like that. Like, it is what it is. Jamar Chase went down. T. Higgins stepped up. And a lot of people that were in the doghouse for Bengals Nation came through in this game. I never really dogged them because, I mean, I just feel like certain people, like T. Higgins, isn't going to struggle for the rest of the season. Like, I just don't see that happening. Miles Murphy was a guy that a lot of people were complaining about, even though the guy was only getting nine snaps a game. So then he gets 40% of the snaps. He has his best game. He has a sack. He has, a tackle for loss. And then Tyler Boyd, a lot of people had him in the doghouse from the Texans, drop touchdown in some plays that he has. And he ends up being the guy that kind of makes the play to seal the game for the field goal. So for me, this was a total team effort. Jake Browning was impressive. However, it wasn't just Jake Browning. It was a total team effort from these guys stepping up and doing what they needed to do. And I know we like to talk about the AFC wins and losses, and I get that part of the equation for the playoffs, but this was a must win. They couldn't lose this game at all, especially given the circumstances with how the rest of the teams, record-wise are stacking up. So it was an important win, but now you have to shift towards the next opponent because this has been a week-to-week league, as we've seen. And so shout out to the Vikings. I thought that they were a respectful opponent. It was very tough. I'm not sure I'm so high on the quarterback that they chose. Like, he kind of helped us out a lot in that situation with Nick Mullins. But that defense is real. I will say that. Like, the defense was real. I did come away impressed by the defense and impressed by that running back. Definitely about to put a waiver claim in on that running back. I said I didn't know him before then. He should have been starting over Alexander Madison. How about that? And maybe I'm a little bit bitter about Alexander Madison because they decided to cut Dalvin Cook for Alexander Madison. I don't even know why you would do that, but maybe this other kid is going to do his thing.
I thought they had signed Tyson Chandler from like the New York Knicks. I was like, what?
Why Tyson Chandler?
I'm like, he don't look as tall anymore. Like, that's crazy.
J-Rock, what do you thought about this game, man?
Yeah, man, that add to what Ace was saying. I think it was a tough foot game. I think it kind of went back and forth. Obviously, it came down to overtime. I think that the Bengals willed their way to win. Obviously, great play by Browning and the defense of the Bengals. I think they made the key plays when they needed to make the plays. I think that when it comes to T. Higgins, he made two of the best catches I think that you could make toward the end of the game. One of those being the touchdown catch that he caught and extended. He was still on the field of play. I think defensively, I think they did great, sacking Mullins 3 times. Like I said, to wrap it up at the end, I think they stood on business and did what they needed to do. Stopped them twice on the third. Stopped them twice on short yardage, so they didn't convert the fourth down and turned the field around and got down there and got the field goal to win the game.
Cute.
Yeah, I think this is an example of people forgetting that the Bengals are a team that went to 2 AFC championship games back to back. And when you do something like that, you not only have a recognition of what we call teams that know how to win, right? And what teams are that know how to win is kind of Ace talked about it, is momentum, is knowing exactly when in the game. Oh, this happened. We got to go on this. Like, we got it. We must get this one, right? Because if we get this one, then that's going to roll into that. And we're going to roll. We know how that goes. And this is a Bengals team that kind of understands that. And though Joe Burrow is not there, and he was a big part of that, they still have a lot of guys who are a massive part of that too. And I think maybe people nationally looked at the Bengals as like a singular Joe Burrow carry job, while also simultaneously criticizing Joe Burrow for the amount of help that he's had. So when he goes down, people don't know what to do with them. But I said when the whole injury goes down, I don't know if I'm going to put the Bengals out yet because they have a lot around the quarterback position. And this is just an example of that, right? T. Higgins steps up, makes a big time play. Same type of big time plays we've seen the Bengals make with Joe Burrow time and time again. We've accredited them to Joe Burrow, even though other guys were involved in that success. And that's an example of it. T. Higgins just went up there, made a play, made an amazing play. Not only got in bounds, but had the mind enough to swing that ball over to score. Like, that's the kind of stuff that teams that are used to winning do. And that's why the Bengals are winning right now, because Got to give credit to Zach Taylor. He's been doing a great job. We were highly skeptical of him after how this thing started out in Pittsburgh, but he seems to have got together. Like I said this at the beginning of it, I was like, hey, man, if the Bengals collapse here, I view that as a failure on Zach Taylor, and that you actually have to think about what you can do to move on, because you should absolutely not collapse. It looks like the Bengals are not collapsing, and that's a good sign for what they have in that building as far as coaching and leadership. And this is just an example of a team that has won a ton. And we know how those teams are, right? Pittsburgh, when they were at the end of their runs, they always went out hard, though. It was like always like, yeah, we ain't dying like that. Like right when you think we're dead, we predicted many of under 500 seasons for them, and then they don't die, right? Because they still had some of that DNA left in them. The same thing with those injured Baltimore teams, minus the 1 year where they just lost every game and went last place. What, 2021?
2 years ago.
Yeah. The 2022 was a little bit different, but yeah, they've had years like that. Like sometimes you have that resiliency, sometimes you have that fight, sometimes you don't. And this was an example of the Bengals is being a team that is experienced, knows how to win, and that's dangerous when it comes to the end of the season, because guys are tired at the end of the season. Guys are fatigued at the end of the season, and the dudes who know how to win tend to win. That's why you see the winning teams win a lot at the end of the year. So that's a credit to what the Bengals have built in that building, that they're winning at this point.
Okay, let's go with some super chats here. Small useless Brett says it's week 16. The Browns have clinching scenarios. The Steelers have elimination scenario. Wow. Also,
you know what I mean? They just announced Case Keenum's playing on Sunday. I'm just gonna say this, Sonny. Browns went out. Y'all lose 2 games. We know what we know what's flipping. We know what's flipping.
I know. There's a super chat about it too. Hugh Jackson and Grambling State had a mutual part. I didn't even know where Grambling State is. Steelers, if you need an OC.
Hey man, hey Hugh, hey,
you should retire at this point.
Hey dog, he won 4 games a year down there. I was watching. I was like, man, was it Cleveland? Was it him? And I was like, the message is worn thin, even at Grambling. Okay,
where's Grambling State? I don't even know.
It's in Louisiana. It's HBCU. Yeah.
Okay.
He tried to do the Dion thing, but he not Dion.
Nah.
Yeah, it didn't work out for him. It's tough.
Hey, at this point, you just you earn enough money, you just retire. Maybe somebody will want you as a
Jackson is going to be great at TV.
Yeah, I was going to say as a TV.
He's going to be great at TV.
Yeah.
Well, but he did all that stuff about like, oh yeah, the Browns told me to lose, and then he had to recant.
That's
like he
true.
just like go away for like 2 years, Hugh. Come back on TV, and they're gonna love you. They like what? They like what's his name? Man Genius, known fraudster. You just wait 2 years, show up again, you'll be able to get your ESPN money, man.
I don't even know why they like Mancini. I don't even think he's a good personality.
Hey man, sometimes them dudes at ESPN, they show up on time, and that's all they need is somebody to show up on time at 5 o'clock in the morning to get up. It ain't easy.
It's not easy. I wake up at 4. I agree. Blender Review here says we need to know how a brother from Beemore got a Hines Ward's jersey.
So the origin story. I am a late 80s baby. Of course, Sonny and all the Ravens fans know, all the AFC North fans know that the Ravens didn't have a team until 96. I picked my poison and I stuck with it, So Hines Ward is my favorite player. And yeah, that's how I got the jersey.
I appreciate that. You did decide to jump onto that stolen merchandise that you brought to Baltimore. You know what I mean?
Stolen merchandise.
I wasn't hopping on no Mayfairs, none of that.
Mutual understanding party. KNN here says Jax.
No, that's not what that was in Cleveland.
Hey. That's how I have it here.
That was a robbery.
Robbery is like leaving in the middle of the night. That was nasty.
Here's how bad it was. They didn't even take the team for Cleveland. It was like, all right, man, build a new stadium. We'll get you a new one. They did you dirty. Like they gave the Browns insurance off that. That was nuts.
Leaving in the middle of the night is crazy. Like
that's cold blooded, bro. I would have,
Ultimately, though, I think Baltimore got the last laugh out of that because they got that pick, and then the first pick they got Ray Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Don't tell that to Q. Don't tell that to Q.
They got our pick.
Yeah.
All I'm gonna say is
Jonathan Ogden and Ray Lewis with our pick.
Yeah.
That's what and they took our guy Ozzie Newsome, Browns legend, Browns executive vice president, promoted by Bill Belichick himself.
That's crazy.
Man, we got robbed by just incompetent ownership.
Yeah, he identifies as a Raven now.
By the way, shout out to Art Modell, fired not only Paul Brown, Bill Belichick, and Nick Saban.
K-Man here says Jaguars fan out about the AFC.
They glad the Central don't exist no more, ain't they? I've never seen a team so glad to be out the Central. They was like, I'm tired of them, dog. They played. I know they thought they was gonna go at least 2-1. Yeah. They knew they was losing that game for the Ravens, but when they got to the Ravens, they still ain't won one of those games. They knew they was cooked. Like that looked like a team to me that knew it was done. They missed those 2 field goals. They knew it was over. Mm-hmm. They're like, yeah, we not with it.
Dude, that was nasty. Like I didn't. Obviously, we went through the schedule early in the year, but I guess I didn't realize that they were going because we're not looking at that side of the flip, right? I didn't notice that they were going back to back AFC North. And as I said all year, it's different. Like we hit different. Like all 4 of these teams.
Oh yeah, and then playing back to back is hell.
Yeah,
like we don't even like playing each other back to back. We always complain, well, we gotta play these division games back to back.
Yeah.
Like, nah.
It's gonna be a tough game. They're gonna have to have the ice packs on them after the game. You already know what time it is.
Like it's specifically like harsh having to go from Cleveland to Baltimore. Like you deal with Myles Garrett, you deal with that defense and everything that they bring at home in Cleveland, where they're the most dangerous, and then you got to play Baltimore. Ugh, it's rough.
Yeah, it's rough. Aaron Clay here says, Sonny, I need you to drop 2 games and give us the number 1 seed. Don't be a Grinch.
Be special too, like with it. You know what I mean? Like lose the San Francisco game and then drop the Pittsburgh one too. Like we need you to win the Miami one so we can get the 1 seed. Like,
yeah, they need a perfect scenario. Hey, Nah. The San Francisco game is gonna be tough for the Ravens, but Miami is the key for us. It's definitely
it's back to back too. That's tough.
Yeah. Our like later portion of the schedule between Jacksonville going to San Fran, Miami's coming here, and then Pittsburgh's also coming here. Yeah, Pittsburgh's coming here. Mm-hmm. So we'll see that Pittsburgh game. For me, I want that week 18 to matter because I don't want them to slow down that much, like 2 weeks if we're gonna get the 1 seed. But if we are not getting the 1 seed, then the Steeler game, I don't care because then I do want them to take a quote unquote bye, right? Because I think the team needs that health for at least that 1 week. Nova Stone here says when LJ is healthy, we win 11 games. Cincinnati lucky 2 years.
Making it to the AFC Championship 2 years in a row is luck. I'm just
1 Super Bowl.
Just trying to find out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it luck, but yes.
No, y'all did get the Titans. Like y'all get the Titans. Y'all got
there was the one pass.
But you know what, Q? We gotta thank y'all for that. We just laid down that last week. We let y'all beat us. And we was like, okay, yeah, we're going to take this Ryan Tannehill and Derek Carr. That was a strategy, dog.
That was a strategy losing to Cleveland?
Hey, yes, that was a strategy.
That strategy, dog. Let me tell you.
Gagan here says, both are 6'6", both had comebacks. Wish they were the reason they were down against hilarious franchise, both called elite.
Flacco only by Ravens fans. Ain't nobody calling Joe Flacco elite, dog.
No.
Wait.
I had
t-shirts, man.
Ravens fans get on that.
Y'all had them Flacco elite t-shirts. I ain't forget. Y'all had them Flacco elite t-shirts.
There's a bunch of people. I mean, Terrell Suggs used to carry one. He went with Skip Bayless with Joe Flacco's elite or something like that.
Oh my goodness!
Wait, so
which tells me everything I need to know about Joe Flacco as a teammate. That T Sizzle was willing to do that. Like, hey man,
I will say that he was
a lot of
the teammate, right?
He was elite in that playoff run, but as a quarterback, no, he was not an elite quarterback.
Look, they're not talking about him being an elite quarterback. They're not saying Joe Flacco's an elite quarterback. They're just saying, hey, man, I like Joe Flacco. He's elite, which tells me, hey, if there's a function and Joe Flacco shows up, he might pay for it.
And then we have Mighty Mulatto here says, Q, the pass to Cooper. Flacco put it where the ball and receiver got to empty space at the same time. Scary.
I don't know. I don't know what the probability is of that ball being completed. Like 9 times.
It was probably like 12%.
Yeah, the dog ain't that 12% happened. Even though Lauren Cooper was shocked to see that ball touch his hands. Right. He was like, what?
Ravens Nation here said, Ace, any chances Chase plays? I have him in fantasy football. I think he's out right for a while.
I think so. Like Zach Taylor didn't say he was out, but me knowing Jamar Chase, like he's gonna take like an extra week. Like even if he could go, I wouldn't expect to see him this week, especially if your fantasy is on the line right now. But I would probably monitor the situation. Like check out our practices. If he practices, Thursday or Friday, he'll probably play, and I'm talking about full. So if it's limited, he's probably not playing. So I would probably check there. I don't know if Zach Taylor is just trying to reverse, the rap sheet, stuff just for a game plan kind of strategy or not. But I wouldn't probably expect him to play because he's the type where he came back from the last injury and he could have gone that week and he was like, nah, I'm gonna just sit out a week just to be sure. So I wouldn't expect him to play. If I was betting money on it, I'm probably leaning like 70-30 he doesn't play right now.
Okay.
It's 100% chance he's not playing. Like Jamar Chase is not one to be like, hey man, let me rush back from this injury. He has vocally made that point. Like unless he's like, he's not gonna risk himself for what he feels like could be a longer run for one game.
Yeah. Separated shoulder, right?
It's a shoulder strain. Yeah, I think it is. It's like an AC strain or something like that.
Yeah, he ain't playing.
No, I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Like I'm just remembering the Deshaun Watson fiasco.
What were you saying, J-Rock?
No, I said you're gonna need him to sit out. I mean, the Bengals kind of getting hot right now, so yeah, they're making a push to try to get that 6 or 7 seed in the playoffs, and they're gonna need Jamar Chase. I don't think they're gonna rush him back, especially with Boyd and Higgins playing as well as they are.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go pay some bills here. Instead of stepping into 2024 with confidence that thanks to Manscaped, where resolutions are met and hairs are neatly kept. As the new year approaches, why not make self-improvement breeze by keeping your body well-groomed? Introducing Manscaped Performance Package 5.0 Ultra, the ultimate all-inclusive kit designed to help you feel clean, cut, and confident as you should. Featuring the Powerhouse Lawnmower 5.0, this next-gen trimmer ensures precision and ease when tackling the toughest hair. So kick off 2024 with a trim above the rest and use promo code AFC North Talk at manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping. The Performance Package 5.0 is here, and let me tell y'all, it's got futuristic tendencies. Included is the brand new Lawnmower 5.0, the Weed Whacker 2.0 ear and nose hair trimmer, and the essential aftercare products like the Crop Smoother Ball Aftershave Lotion and Crop Preserver Anti-Shaving Ball Deodorant, and 2 free gifts. Their 5th generation lawnmower features 2 intershaveable next-gen skin-safe blade heads, a standard one for taking a little off the top, and a new foil blade to go smooth where your hair desires. Did I mention that it's waterproof too? Manscaped also threw in 2 free gifts, the Boxers 2.0, the Shed 2.0 Toiletry Bag. Resolutions may come and go, but a well-groomed you is here to stay with Manscaped latest and greatest. Start the new year right, because when you look good, you feel good. Manscaped helping you sculpt the best version of yourself for the year ahead. New year, new you. And definitely a new trim. Manscaped got your grooming resolutions covered. Get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code AFC North Talk at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com, and use promo code AFC North Talk for 20% and that free shipping. Okay, we have one super chat here. Browns fans are about to realize how much Joe Flacco likes to choke in season finale games versus the Bengals. That's from Kate.
Oh yeah, we remember him. We remember that Joe Flacco.
That's what he does.
What's his
We're gonna
hand?
offset that.
What's the defense?
We got the ultimate
used to
antidote
love
to
some of
any
them.
Joe Flacco choking versus the Bengals, and that the name for that antidote is Miles Garrett.
By the way, and to be honest, if they
Jonah
win the
Williams
next,
still out there?
if y'all win
Jonah
the
actually
next
having a good
game or
season.
so,
I ain't gonna
that's gonna
cap.
it's
happen.
Miles.
He's not gonna stop Miles, but he having a good season. But Flacco, when I seen that red zone interception, I got flashbacks. I'm like, yeah, he good for those. He good for those.
Imagine trying to explain that to people in Cleveland who have gotten amnesia about these things. like, hey man, we remember these things about Joe Flacco. No, you hate him. All right.
People from Cleveland are wacko for Flacco, man.
Hey,
getting there.
Flacco for Flacco sounds crazy.
Yeah, that's what they used to say in Baltimore. Wacko for Flacco. Okay.
It's all fun and games until he becomes Super Bowl MVP 2 times.
Hey.
No.
Okay. Let's talk about the Steelers.
Oh no.
That Steelers game was something. Because in the first half, at the end of the first half, right? You're like, wait, there's a game here. Like the Steelers, right? They were losing 13-14. There was a game. Mitch looked rough, but you're like, you know what you were gonna do with Mitch, right? You're like, and he holds enough, so the defense can show up. And then the second half happened, and that defense kind of imploded in the second half. And Mitch was so bad. I mean, okay, J-Rock. Now, hopefully you don't get offended with this. He had a Kenny Pickett game without the picks. Well, Kenny Pickett doesn't throw that many.
Kenny Pickett game without the with the picks.
With the picks, yes, thank you. Yes, with the picks,
without the interception luck.
Yeah, and then they put the guy that the Pittsburgh Steelers fans were chanting, Mason Rudolph, who threw 2 passes. Well, he threw 3 passes, 2 completions for 3 yards.
That's how tired they are, bitch, man. They like, hey, dog, I'd rather just go 3 and out.
That's what they do anyway. That's what they do.
Give me that old thing.
They'll throw 2-3 yard passes until it's 3rd and 7, and then try to throw a line of scrimmage screen, and it don't go nowhere, and then they wind up having to punt the ball. So,
by the way, and y'all know I'm not a big I think people say that I've been hating for 4 years now, Najee Harris. I think with time, y'all seen that I was right.
Sonny taking that victory lap. Sonny taking that victory lap.
All I was gonna say with Najee Harris is,
wait till we get to the Ravens game. My Trevor Lawrence victory lap's gonna be crazy.
I will say he hated Najee like way before he was a Steeler, though. He never believed in him.
He was the first one to be like, Najee run like an old ass man.
Well, anyway, but my point with
I was like, how did you see it, dog? Because Najee was that slow.
And I seen a podcast earlier this week where somebody tried to compare him to Derrick Henry. I said, the only comparison was that they went to the same school. Like what? I mean, and they played the same position. But that's
everybody saying that clip on Twitter, dog. Everybody seeing that clip on Twitter, dog, where the hole is right there, and he just run.
He ran right into the
he has no vision.
That does sound like an Alabama running back to me, but it's not the one that they wanted to be. Shout out Trent Richardson. You know what I mean? What are we up to?
But what I was gonna say is he did the fumble. I think happened early in the third, but you can correct me. Yeah, and I think at that precise moment, they put a picture or the camera on him, and he's like looking all pissed off in the bench, and the Colts go and score the touchdown. I think at that point it's a wrap. In that moment when that fumble happened, done. They were losing only by 1 at that point, but it was done. Game over. Najee was pissed. He went to the doghouse for a little bit over there. Tomlin was like, don't even talk to me, bro. I've been sticking my neck here for you, giving you more carries, and this is the shit you're going to give me. Get out of here. Anyway, J-Rock, what do you thought about this game?
Going into this game, I was optimistic, thinking that maybe systematically they could come to a game plan and get their things rolling. Maybe get a certain amount of points on the board and maybe hold Indianapolis to a lower amount of points, obviously, but it just didn't work. My point, the way as though the game turned, was after they scored that second touchdown before halftime. And as soon as they scored that second touchdown, I said, Steelers not going to win this game because they bend too much. You hear the motto, bend don't break, but Pittsburgh bends too much. I mean, they make Bill Zappi look good. They make Gardner Minshew look. They make quarterbacks that should not score, get 300 yards on you and 2-3 touchdowns. They get that in the first half. So it's like, and then they can't stop the run. So it's defensively we're just bad. We gave up gashing runs in the second half. Not too many in the first half, but more so in the second half. I mean, Gardner Minshew carved us up in the first half, and like I said, once we couldn't get that ball running, we already couldn't run the ball. But once we relied on Mitch Trubisky to try to get us down the field, the game was pretty much a wrap after that. I think the only bright spot that I really seen and that I was optimistic about was after we got the block field goal, the block punt, excuse me, not the field goal, but the block punt, to which I thought Nick Herbie got robbed on the touchdown. I think he recovered it in the end zone, but we wound up scoring off of that anyway. But regardless, to rely on Mr. Trubisky there's a reason why he didn't get to, finish his career in Chicago and then came to Pittsburgh and was battling for Mason Rudolph for the second or third position. And realistically, I don't think, Kenny is that much better than him or that much developed than him, but he was probably more so, more equipped to carry the team than either Mitch or Mason was at the time. So, I mean, it was kind of a wrap after that. And like I said, once the second half started going, they started running the ball. We couldn't stop them. Pass touchdowns from Gardner Minshew, and it was just ridiculous.
Dude, one thing, Q, that I saw after that game, something you said. I was like, is Q putting this in the universe? I saw a jersey swap. A Baker Mayfield in a Steelers jersey. Because I said Cousins and you said, nah, Baker's coming to Pittsburgh. It's crazy, man. What do you thought about this game?
For me? Oh, man. Look, the first half of this game, I was like, okay, it's going to be a competitive game. The second half might be some of the saddest shit I've seen in my life. I'm looking at the playback report. I'm going to just read you how these drives ended. First drive, back from quarter two. 1 play, 2 yards, fumble. Second drive, 3 plays, -2 yards, punt. Next drive, 8 plays, 36 yards. Oh, they cooked, punt. This next one, 7 plays, 26 yards. That's a good one. Interception. Okay. This one, 4 plays, -8 yards, went out on downs. How? Where was that ball at? Why?
It was in Trubisky hands. That's what
yes. 4 plays, -8 yards, and then they just had a little sad end of the game. 2 play, 13-yard drive. Why even do it? This was 63 yards total offense, net offense from the Pittsburgh Steelers in the second half of this game. And here's where I'm like, man, I really don't think Pittsburgh has any solutions for this offense because they keep going to goofy stuff to fix it, right? Where it's like, hey, man, you know what's going to fix this offense? We going to bring Matt Canada to the sideline. And maybe you get a boost from that because everybody believes, hey, that could be the fix. Maybe that's the problem. So guys play a little harder and then you get a little bit of a boost and you confuse that with it actually fixing the problem. Once that wears out, you realize it's not the solution. All right, what's the next step? We're going to fire Matt Canada. All right, so you fire Matt Canada. Cool. You get a little boost from that. Artificially, right? You got 400 yards. You scored 16 points in that game, but you got 400 yards. It was a big milestone for the team. You feel good. Probably was more of a morale boost just because they think they fixed the problem again. Didn't fix the problem. Right. 2 weeks later, we see what's happening. We right here again with the offense. And what is Mike Tomlin's solution? Well, guys, you won't see Mitchell Trubisky again. Like, okay.
This is definitely not the answer. This was put Mason Rudolph in, and that was so demoralizing. I think that was disrespectful. If I was a player, to get in at the end of the game knowing that they wasn't going to rely on him anyway, to actually help them win.
Mm-hmm.
Giving them garbage time plays, that was terrible.
It's just they're scrambling for solutions because they know the truth. There is no answer, right? There is no quick fix to this. With Kenny Pickett, he might come back. It might look good for 1 week, but by the time you get to the end of the season, we're going to be talking about the same stuff because the problem is just so deeply ingrained in this roster. It's not even the big stuff. It's some of the small stuff, right? Like George Pickens is actively just taking plays off and then telling the media how he's actively taking plays off. Like, it's like, yeah, man, I'm not trying to get hurt. Like, that's where we at. Like, that does not feel like winning Pittsburgh Steelers football. I told Steelers fans this a couple years ago. They were mad at me when I said it, and I will continue to say it. Some of the stuff going on in Pittsburgh smell real familiar to me, where I'm like, oh yeah, I've been there. I've seen that. Oh yeah, I've seen a wide receiver do that. I've seen a team do this. Because it's like I've seen this before, and it's just a team that is just tired. They're tired of each other. They're tired of this plan. They are tired of the solutions not being there. This offense has been terrible since 2018.
Well, they also lack fundamentals and they lack structure.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have a coach like Tomlin, who's a player coach and has been known to be a player's coach for so long, and then you have people like Juju that come in and be dancing all around and getting TikTok dances all on the logos and stuff like that, he gets fined. The craziness that went on with AB, and now that you have Deontay and Pickens in there, it's kind of. It's like the Wild Wild West. These players kind of do what they want. And I think they think because of the skill set that they have, there's not a lot of fundamentals, like I said, that they need to, acquiesce to their skill set. So they just kind of just do whatever, and then now they're lacking. They don't have that discipline.
Yeah, and it just doesn't seem like there's a sense of urgency. Like, it just doesn't feel like they know what time it is. Like, it's the second half of the game. You're down 1 point. You get the ball back on a 3 and out to start the half. Again, this is the difference, right? Bengals knew what time it was. Oh, okay, yeah. They just gave us momentum. Let's swing on it, right? Ravens, they gave us momentum. Let's swing on it. Browns, they gave us momentum. Let's swing on it. Pittsburgh, they gave them that momentum. Let's fumble this. Like, let's be a little loose with the ball, right? And then continue to go 3 and out, and then turn the ball over. The ceiling comes off. The ceiling just falls down on the team. And I think Pittsburgh is an interesting team because I think they have some good players on that offense. Deontay Johnson's a good player. George Pickens is a good player. I wonder if it's going to be salvageable for Pittsburgh, for all those pieces, because you feel some of these things happen, and I've seen it happen on other teams. I've seen it happen with Cleveland where it's like, hey, he's a good player. It's not going to happen here. Like, there's too much has happened for this to be fixed here, right? I talked about this with Odell, where I was like, Odell's a good player. He's going to play well wherever he goes. Just too much has happened in Cleveland for him to ever be good in Cleveland again, right? Or ever be what you want him to be in Cleveland, because there's just too much baggage on it. And that's why I worry about with Pittsburgh. And then you have to ask yourself, like, at this point, it's Tomlin's, like, sometimes coaches have an expiration date at one place. Tomlin's been there for a long time. If guys hurt enough, is he not adjusting his message for the new generation? Is he not evolving as a coach in the ways that he should? Because these are things that never used to be a problem with Mike Tomlin that are now problems with Mike Tomlin. Like, we never used to worry about Mike Tomlin related players. But now we're like, man, like, it seems like he can't get to some of these guys. And maybe that might be an adjustment that he has to make, or maybe that's an adjustment he can't make at this point. But it's still something to look at. And when I look at Pittsburgh, these 3 losses say more to me than just like, hey, you had a bad run of 3 games. To me, it's like there's something funky in that infrastructure right now with your ball club. And if that does not get fixed soon, You know, it ain't that hard to become the Browns, right? Like, it ain't that hard to become one of these other teams out here that people forgot used to be good. It can happen like that. And that's where Pittsburgh's at, because I'm looking at them. I'm like, man, like if they make a coaching change or they don't fix some of these fundamental issues that are going down with the team, it could be real easy to start swapping in and out coaches. And then you got to get a new quarterback, but you can never get that quarterback with the right offensive coordinator. And then that coordinator has to go out and you're shipping guys in and out. And the next thing you know, it's 20 years you ain't had a quarterback. So it could be a real slippery slope here. And that's why I see with Pittsburgh where I'm like, hey, man, the Ben era is over, and I don't know what's next for Pittsburgh, but I do hope that they have a plan for their own sake, because right now they look like a team without a plan, and the people in the locker room can sense that, and that's why they're so unfocused, because for them, it's like, get to the playoffs for what? For who? What are they doing? Like, what's the goal? We're going to get to the playoffs, and then they have no belief that there's actually a plan right now, and that's leading to the unfocused. That's why George Pickens is like, I'd rather not get hurt than help the team win, because for who, for what? What's the plan right now? Right? Everybody else in the North feels like they have something to prove by making this happen. For Pittsburgh, it's like, well, we just gonna make the playoffs. Like, we're gonna go over 500. Like, they don't really seem invested in the Steelers stuff. They seem invested in individual stuff, and that to me is the bigger problem than just the 3 losses in a row.
Yeah, and the crazy thing, we're talking about a team that when that game started, they were in command of that 6th seed, right? Like, they control their destiny. I mean, they've been controlling their destiny for the past 3 weeks, but even after the 2 loss, they win, and they will be right now in the 6th seed. But anyway, Ace, what was your thought about this game? After the high of the Bengals, you're coming from that high of the Bengals winning to see the Steelers.
You know, the Steelers did you a solid, right?
I mean,
because you didn't have a heart attack. They was like, we're going to hold this down for one half while you calm down.
About that, because if the Steelers would have won, we would have been the 7th seed.
It's a good gift.
I'm in the twilight zone right now, man. I just seen Big Ben on the Bengals podcast talking bad about the Steelers. I'm like, what year is it? Like, for real? Because, man, I mean, the Steelers right now, man, it just doesn't look good. I'm going to keep it a buck. I mean, it didn't look good a few weeks ago. Some of the things that I saw was Najee Harris, like the week that we were playing him the first time, came out and was saying, you know, you guys don't even know what's going on in this locker room. For a player to say that to the media, when the media, like, you're trying to keep stuff like that out from the media, that was concerning. In the Bengals game, you saw Deontay Johnson, like, the fumble drops right next to him. He's not even going for it. I'm like, what is going on in that locker room? And I think J-Rock kind of hit on it, and we've all kind of talked about it. It's cool to be able to do that and have the personalities when you're winning. Like, a lot of stuff's going to get overlooked. A lot of people, like, if you're winning football games, a lot of that stuff goes under the radar, right? But when those teams and with guys like that, when they start losing, that's when it really gets bad. And I think, you know, like Ben has said, like a lot of people have said, this doesn't look like the Steelers, dog. This does not look like a Steelers football team whatsoever. And there's just a mess, honestly, going on. You got to think about it. They were up in this game by 2 scores. Like, a lot of people forget that. They were up in this game. A lot of people are going to rag on the offense in this game, and rightfully so. You know, whenever you have turnovers in the game, that's going to happen. 8% of the time you're going to lose a game, you lose a turnover differential. But that defense, what happened? What happened to the defense? I mean, to let a backup running back, Trey Sermon, like, a lot of people were talking about Zach Moss and stuff like that. Okay, Zach Moss, I can see. Zach Moss got hurt early in this game. Trey Sermon came in. Trey Sermon and Tyler Goodson. Raise your hand if you knew either one of those dudes on the preview show. Did anybody mention them? Did anybody know?
No, nobody mentioned them on the preview show.
Did anybody know? These dudes were running like Bo Jackson and Marcus Allen against this Steelers defense. I don't know what the hell is going on right now in Pittsburgh.
To be fair, everybody running on us like that, though.
Bro, I don't know what's going on over there. Like, Minka isn't making the plays anymore.
My goodness. Trey Sermon had 5.2 on 17.
Yes, dog. Yes.
That was with
and Tyler Goodson had 6.3. And Tyler Good, like, dog. It was nasty, man. I mean, the Colts came back and the Steelers just never responded, bro. Like the Colts got punched in the mouth. They responded. You guys talked about the momentum. Pittsburgh just kept it. And like Q broke down those plays, they literally just gave them all of those opportunities, but they just could not stop them. Gardner Minshew went out and had a field day. I mean, coming from a team that just beat the crap out of the Colts aren't really that good of a team. Like they're under the radar, but they're not a team that should have blown out the Steelers by that many points, which to me signals that it's more about the locker room. I mean, there's clear division in there. I also forgot to talk about Minka, how Minka kind of came out and said some guys are just showing up expecting to play. I mean, that's what we're seeing right now. And to me, I know everybody wants to get rid of Tomlin. I get it. But it does seem like the Steelers have struggled on offense for years now, ever since Todd Haley, right? But it's just gotten worse and worse. And I kind of tried to warn Steelers fans about this when they got rid of Matt Canada, because I looked at the guy that they replaced him with that was actually calling the plays. And if you look back, his offenses were like in the bottom of the NFL. So like they didn't really fix the problem in terms of bringing another guy in. I know that they're going to want to get rid of Tomlin. I'm going to tell you this right now. I don't think it's a Tomlin issue. Like I don't I don't think it's a Tomlin issue. I think the issue is at quarterback. If you don't have that guy, a guy that's there to bring stability, you're not going to be able to do anything in this NFL. And I get it. I admire what they tried to do. They kind of tried to go back to the early 2000s. We're going to, play elite defense, try to force turnovers, and we're going to be contrary to what the NFL is right now. But the NFL right now, you got to have a guy or at least, somebody there that knows what they're doing in terms of play calling. So, like, if you don't have the guys, you got to have an adequate play caller. You have to have some sort of semblance of offense. And the Steelers right now, they don't look like a team that can score 20 points right now. Like, when I saw the Colts go up 21-13 or whatever, I was like, this game's over. The Steelers haven't shown me for forever that they can even really score 20 points like that. So, I think it's on both sides of the ball. I think this is going to be a tough season for them. I think that they'll still, come out and try to show some fight. But this team is like one more loss from it just really boiling over, I think, in that locker room. I think, like people have said, I think the Tomlin message is getting old. And I've been there. I mean, obviously, Marvin Lewis hasn't won and had the success of a Mike Tomlin. But I've been there when players just stop listening to the message. And it's got to be wearing on them, and it starts with the quarterback, man. When you put Mitch Trubisky as your starter, nobody's believing in that.
Nobody.
Keep it a buck. Honestly, nobody's really believing in Kenny Pickett for real. Like, nobody's believing in Kenny Pickett. Nobody's going to believe in Mason Rudolph.
Definitely.
Like, at least with Kenny Pickett, people didn't know. Like, they felt like they knew.
Right.
They didn't really know.
People were more optimistic when it came
like,
to
yeah, like, with Mitch Trubisky, like, Mitch Trubisky ain't leading you anywhere. So, for the Steelers, it's a tough road ahead for them. But this was a disaster of a game for them, man. I mean, that game just got away from a game where they had all of the momentum early on. I was thinking, okay, the Steelers are going to take care of business, and then the Colts hit them, and they just never recovered. So, for me, it's been a crazy year. I think if you're a Pittsburgh fan, this is unfamiliar territory. But I will say, as a person that has been there in that situation, do not fire Mike Tomlin, because if you bring in a new coach and he doesn't hit, or he has to change around his whole system, there's a whole year of, like, even if the coach is good, right, he still has to move out all of those players, bring in his players and stuff like that. I know Pittsburgh is used to the standard of winning and going to the playoffs. I don't know if you're going to get that if you get rid of Mike Tomlin. But we'll see. We'll see what they end up doing, because it is kind of pointing in that direction, it seems.
I don't think it's a problem of like, hey, do you need to hit on this coach if you fire Tomlin? It's a question of how far are you willing to commit to this coach? Because if you move from Mike Tomlin, if you don't, it seems clear to me that there needs to be just a complete. They've been trying to tinker this roster to get it to where it needs to. And I feel like they just need to uno out on this, right? Like just let it go. Like get rid of some pieces, move some guys, and just start over from scratch because this just did not work, right? It just has not been what they've wanted it to be for a couple of years now. And they have to figure out who they want to commit to, who they want to get to. And the question with Tomlin to me is like, is he a guy that's going to be able to get the right quarterback? Because sometimes you get this with defensive coordinators where instead of they just go with what they want to be safe. And we have seen this in the NFL draft. Safe gets you nowhere, right? Safe gets you Bryce Young #1 overall, right? It gets you nothing, right? Because that's what safe doesn't exist. You can't get high floor. That's why you pick Kenny Pickett, right? Oh, he's going to be safe. He can only be but so bad, right? No. Like if Mike Tomlin's imagination is not past that point, then you have to ask, is this the dude that could be the coach for a new quarterback? Is this the dude that's going to be able to hold it down for a new quarterback and put the right people around that new quarterback? Like, I'm not encouraged by Mike Tomlin's history of offensive hires. And especially when it comes to adjusting to what the NFL has become, it seems like the NFL has changed year after year since 2018, and he has refused to make that adjustment or refused to put people in power to the point to make that adjustment. And at some point, you have to make the decision. Is this the guy that could be in charge for us to get the things we need to be right? Because whether you keep Mike Tomlin, whether you don't, if you don't get quarterback right, it's going to be a problem for the franchise. And they have to figure out, is Mike Tomlin going to give us the best chance to get a good quarterback? Is Omar Khan going to give us the best chance to get a good quarterback? What went into the Mitch Trubisky, Mitch Trubisky, Kenny Pickett selection quarterback room process? What went wrong with that? Can that be changed? Or is that just our philosophy and what we're going to default to? And we're just going to end up with a new version of that, which would be like, what, Bo Nix or Spencer Rattler? Like, is that what you're going to be on? Like, they got to figure it out because, look, I've seen the Browns try to roll out these little like half-tier solutions. Are we going to draft somebody in the late part of the second round? Are we going to get somebody in the third round that slipped? And that's going to be, and it never works out. It has such a low probability of working out. And that's what Pittsburgh has to be wary of. Like, are they in the right position to get a quarterback? That's all they need to be focused on. I know they've been focused on trying to maintain these streaks and trying to be a 500 team and being better than Cleveland and all this stuff that they do take pride in Pittsburgh. And that's why they're a good franchise. But at some point, you got to change all that focus to what are you going to need to get another 7 in that door? Because until you have somebody who can compare to that, or it's going to be very tough. And if I'm Pittsburgh, I'm like, all right, well, the defense doesn't seem to have these issues. You can lean into the defense, maybe move some pieces on offense to get more defense, and then just figure it out slowly on that offensive side of the ball, because that they just need a new approach. Because what they have in that locker room, like you get rid of Chase Claypool, then George Pickens has problems, and then Deontay Johnson has problems. Like, it just doesn't seem like they're attacking the source of these issues. And if I'm them, you just gotta bug bound the place at this point, dog, because it's just too many problems be popping up, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And this offense hasn't been good enough to deserve these kind of issues.
Yep. Okay, we have a super chat
here.
here.
J-Rock. I'm old enough to remember Tommy Maddox, man. Y'all going back to Tommy Maddox and Charlie.
Not Tommy Maddox.
Y'all gotta get out of there, man.
Yeah,
I remember before Ben came. It's been a long time.
Yeah, and that's like Q was saying, that quarterback position is very important. And like I said, it's a leadership thing, because people are not going to rally behind players that they don't believe in. I read a quote today from Ramon Foster when they was talking about substituting Mason into the starting role, and he pretty much was there 2019 when Mason got bopped over the head by Myles Garrett. But he knows the type of player that Mason Rudolph is, and he knows that Mason Rudolph is not going to be the answer. So, like I said, the question, like Q said, is, are they going to change up this QB room? Because for the past couple of years, I never thought that they, had the potential to do anything. And I mean, it showed within, the numbers and the productivity. So I mean, that's a thing as well.
Yeah, and it's like also like you look at the style of quarterback that they've drafted with relatively high enough draft picks, right? Mason Rudolph was their original post Big Ben plan with the second round pick, I believe that they took him with.
They jumped in front of the Bengals, talking about they stole Mason Rudolph from us.
Well, you can even go back to Landry Jones, who I think they took with a 4th or 5th round pick or something like that.
Goodness. Please don't say Landry Jones.
Yeah. But if you look at the history of quarterbacks that they've drafted, even when they had been in this whole era, it's been a specific style outside of like the one pick with Josh Dobbs, who even Josh Dobbs is kind of like, yeah, he's athletic, but he does play more of that system style, or at least he's supposed to. And it makes me wonder. I'm like, man, there's a lot of years of evidence that tells me that they look at this quarterback position one way. And they've been allowed to get away with it because they had somebody special at that position in 7. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that they can get away with it, especially when you look at some of those offenses around 7. I used to make the joke to Tony because he was telling me how Matt Canada going to change the offense and Randy Fichtner going to change his offense and all this stuff. I was like, as long as Ben's there, you're running the Big Ben offense.
You're going to run Ben runs.
You're going to run that 50 play stuff. And this is where I'm looking at Pittsburgh. I'm like, they have no idea what to do with that position. Since Ben left, like they have no plan. Like they don't know who they want to be at that position. They don't know what they want to get. They're not updated to. They still drafting pocket passers. Like it's. I don't know what the plan is. Like I'm not convinced if Jada Daniels slipped to them that they would even take a shot at him because they'd be like, nah, man, we like Spencer or we like Bo. Like what? Have they updated their philosophy at this position? Because the mere fact that Mason Rudolph is their third solution after Mitchell Trubisky and Kenny Pickett, it tells me a lot about where they're not looking at the quarterback position because it seems so 2003. Their whole get about with this position.
The one thing is this GM did not draft Kenny Pickett, right? So we'll see how quick he moves out of Kenny Pickett. We'll see. It'll be interesting in the offseason. For now, Professor
Chaos is a difficult one though, because it's like kind of like, oh yeah, this GM didn't draft Lamar Jackson either, but it's not like they weren't completely like unique from the previous GM. Like they were just kind of like an underling of the last GM, right? Omar Khan, he was promoted from within, right?
No, he came from the Eagles.
Yeah, he was promoted from within.
He didn't come from the Eagles?
He was already in the system.
Yeah, he was already in the system. So it was like he was probably part of that Kenny Pickett process.
Okay. I got you. Professor Chaos here says, I have a prediction for next year. Justin Fields to the Steelers. By the way, we're going to be talking about
interesting one, right? But I'm like, are the Steelers going to be creative enough to do something like that? That's what I'm saying. Like, we joke about the Baker Mayfield thing, right? We joke about the Kirk Cousins thing. But we all know they're probably going to look at Baker Mayfield or Kirk Cousins. Like, that's who they're going to look at.
Especially if Tomlin is there, right? Because if Tomlin is there, I think he wants to go with a vet.
Mm-hmm. He wants to go with the safest possible option.
Different direction than what they've gone in. Somebody put it here in the chat. Justin Fields would be something completely different than what they've kind of gone with in Pittsburgh. I don't think we've seen anything like that since like Cordell Stewart, dog.
Right.
I don't think we've seen.
Well, case in point, which is why they got away from a Judge Dobbs, which is why they got away from a guy like Dennis Dixon, who were those hybrid type quarterbacks, and who I thought that they would kind of keep up with as far as like where the league was going, because of course this was like after like your Mike Vicks and stuff like that when you started getting all those running quarterbacks that you knew were dual threat, but they, like you said, they kept with the 2003 theme and wanting pocket quarterbacks, and you got to keep up with the times, man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's talk about Justin Fields because he did play against the AFC North opponent. That was actually a very interesting game. I wouldn't necessarily call it offensively a good game. There was a lot of not great quarterback play. I mean, Flacco resurrected in the fourth quarter. The defense for Cleveland kept them in this game. We talk about Justin Fields. I was looking at his stat line and because I was like, did he play good? I don't remember him playing that good. And he threw 40 passes, completing only 19 for 166 yards. The running game didn't help them much either.
I would say Justin Fields' stat line in this game is a bit underselling what actually happened though, because I felt like Justin did play well. He has nothing. Like they they just
they had more. That's it. DJ Moore and nothing else.
Dropping a lot of passes too, man.
Yeah, they're like Darnell Mooney stinks.
Mm-hmm.
And whoever the tight end is, they stink.
Whoever that tight end was, that like,
yeah, they had some opportunities. Like Justin Fields.
No, it was Tynyan.
Yeah,
Robert Tynyan. They used to play for the Packers.
Yeah, look, they had some opportunities in this game, and it was funny to me. This game was like watching the Browns play the 2017 Browns, or like one of those. Like we all know one of those Browns teams, like Antonio Brown's. Like, yeah, man, we down by 14, but I'm gonna step on the punter's face, and that's going like one of those Browns teams. That's what the Bears felt like. Like, they were up. And you were mad that you might blow this game to this team, but then they started doing stuff that would suggest that they're not trying to win this one for real.
Nah.
Like this is a team that is truly too young to know how to win, and that's really what happened to them. The Browns, they've won a lot of games. They've been down in these moments. They know what to do in these situations, and they showed up exactly when they had to. The defense was there all game. They gave up 3 points, to be honest with you. Joe Flacco threw 2 pick sixes. I know he only won technically, but Michael Dunn tackled him on the 1 yard line on the second one. My man threw 2 pick sixes. And look, he was playing an awful game. Not only did he throw the 2 pick sixes, he took 7 points off the board with a bad interception. It was bad. It was so bad. And then he pulled the 2 best throws he has had in 10 years out of his old ass butt crack. I ain't never seen nothing like it, but shout out to Joe Flacco for doing it, right? Look, he started the fire and he put the fire out, I guess. You know what I mean? He's a backup quarterback. I can't really expect more from him than that. This defense showed up. Myles Garrett, look, the stats don't do it justice. They're terrified. Like, I have not seen NFL teams this terrified of one defensive player since like Darrelle Revis, where teams are just like, I'm gonna send 3 dudes at Myles, like, and just not care if they're gonna get beat one-on-one backside by anybody else, and they just are letting it happen. So Myles did a good job fighting through those double teams, had 11 pressures in this game, had a huge TFL to really push the Bears back on that last drive on the second to last drive that they had. And shout out to Dustin Hopkins for putting it together. But this was the Browns team winning a game that the Browns absolutely used to lose against the Ravens, the Steelers, and the Bengals, right? Where it's like, okay, yeah, they're not serious. We are serious. They're not serious. They're going to fumble this game away. And then the Bears fumbled the game away. Long term, I would say I'm encouraged just because I was worried that Joe Flacco was stinking it up because he was old and he's played too much. But that fourth quarter showed me he just stunk it up because he was just thinking. Like, I could live with that. Like, okay, he's just having a bad game. So, it's not that he's fatigued and he's tired and he's not going to be able to play well going forward. I think he'll be fine. We'll see what this defense continues to do on the road. We know at home they're one of the best defenses in the NFL, probably one of the best home defenses we've seen in a while. I mean, just look at the numbers. It's incredible what they've been able to do. But yeah, this Browns team, when they're playing at home, they're dangerous. And hey, I would say, I know we joking about it, but if the Browns do win the division and find a way to get like the 1 or 2 seed, they could be a dangerous team because I don't think anybody wants to play this defense in Cleveland, the way that they play downhill, especially if they get Grant Delpit back. This is a nasty, ferocious unit, and they can really get some stuff done. And I think the key for them is that this defense plays so good at times that they are just asking Joe Flacco to give you 2 drives a game, and they don't even care what you do in between them 2 drives. Like, you can turn that ball over. And I'm saying this because the Browns have had multiple games like this in which they've won, where the quarterback has done whatever they've wanted outside of 2 drives in the game that were positive. They just don't need the quarterback to do much. That's how good this defense is. And I think it comes to a larger overall point that I want to paint to. In the absence of elite quarterback play, the thing that can raise your margin of error to a similar level is an elite defense. An elite defense can let you get away with Trent Dilfer at quarterback. An elite defense can let you get away with old Peyton Manning at quarterback, because an elite defense only says, hey, I just need you to do 2 drives. We got the rest. And that's what the Browns have, at least at home. We'll see if they can keep this up at on the road. It's been a tough struggle for them. They've been a good road team against division teams, but not against teams outside the division. It's kind of weird. So we'll see what happens on Sunday. But so far, they are 9-5. They have 30% of their salary cap on injured reserve. And we winning games with Joe Flacco. Kevin Stefanski can be coach of the year. This is a miracle that they're at this point. We'll see what they do going forward.
The funny thing is that when you guys started Flacco and DTR, we were thinking like defense and then running game, right? The running game was non-existing in this game. It wasn't like the running game was popping, right? The other thing is, I was thinking as I was
Sonny, we got one starting offensive lineman left.
No, I know.
That's what I'm saying. We wish we could run the ball. It's just Wyatt Teller and dudes.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I guess what I was going to pivot a little bit here is I don't think DTR wins that game. You need a guy like Flacco that he knows, like, yeah, I done stupid shit, but I can turn it around because the defense has hold it up on the other side, right?
Yeah, the real question is, does like DTR throw them 3 interceptions? Like,
fair enough.
That is the question, right? Like, I don't think DTR pulls himself up for 3 interceptions like Joe Flacco did, but like, honest to God, all Joe Flacco had to do was just throw one of them. Like, if he didn't even have to not throw all 3 of them. Yeah. If he just threw one of them, it would have been fine. If he just threw 2 of them, it would have been fine. We said
it in the preview. Me and you said, I said there's no way in hell the Browns are going to lose this game. And I said, if Flacco's going to make this an interesting game with throwing multiple interceptions, and you said the same thing. I think he was due. He was due for a game like this. Mm-hmm. But the Browns escaped with the win. Look, that Hail Mary was awfully close. That brother had it in his hands, and nobody was hitting him. But hey,
that's just not a team ready to. That's the kind of stuff that happens when you don't actually believe you should win. Is you don't make those plays.
Sure. Yep. Hey, what do you thought about this game?
Yeah, man, I think that this game, I said all the time that, or on the preview show, that this was going to be a close game, right? Like, I had the feeling that, the guy that was going to make it close was going to be Justin Fields. I think, like we said, he didn't, like, if you're just looking at the box score, he didn't have an impact. But if you were watching the game, he tried to have an impact. His receivers really let him down in this one. But I think the Browns defense really stood out in this one. This should not have been a game that the Browns should have been in, especially with the Flacco turnovers that they gave to him. All of the momentum was kind of going in the Bears' favor. Especially when you see Trayvon Edmonds, he gets the pick 6 touchdown. Like, you're thinking this game could be over, right? And then the Browns start making some plays here and there, and then it just seemed like Flacco turned it on in the fourth quarter. Whereas in the first 3 quarters, he was just, being detrimental to the Browns. He was doing everything he could to kind of try to take them out with some of those turnovers. And then once they got down, because I've been watching the Browns, like, once they get it within a touchdown, like, it's a wrap, bro. Like, they're going to come back. Now they got the kicker going off right now, so he's going to be able to get a field goal. And I really feel like Chicago kind of mismanaged the whole end of the game as well. It's just 2 different teams. You can see that the coaching was different between the Browns and between the Bears team that's reeling, that their coach is on the hot seat. Looks like he's scrambling. Looks like Fields is scrambling. Like, the Bears are just a team that kind of seemed to be headed in disarray. They were able to get that victory the week before. Then this was the one where you're like, okay, is it legit? They just beat the Lions, who's supposed to be the best team in their division. Can they do something here this weekend? And they just proved that they just weren't ready for the moment. The Browns capitalized, and the Browns are a dangerous team. I mean, we can talk all we want about the team. As Q has said, they've lost player after player, and it's been literally next man up. They haven't used any excuses. They got Joe Flacco. They had P.J. Walker. They had all of the, Quincy could play quarterback for them at this point, and they still might come out with a dub. That's just what they've been doing with stepping up. I mean, we kind of talked about it. Now, I talked about, like, would the 2 tackles being gone affect the game? I don't think it affected the outcome. Montez Sweat, that was one thing that Guru got right. Montez Sweat did have a great game against them, but it didn't affect them to the point where they weren't able to move the ball. Amari Cooper, to me, was kind of the player of the game. He had some big catches in this one. Had that one that really broke open for the touchdown. that to me kind of started to come back for them in that game. So I think if you're a Browns fan, you're completely happy with how things played out in spite of the turnovers. Obviously, you want to minimize those, but if you're winning the game, it doesn't matter. If you win in these games ugly, Joe Flacco, I think he's had I don't know if it's 6 turnovers in the last 2 games or whatever, but they're still winning games. So no one's going to remember how bad Joe Flacco might have turned the ball over. Everybody's going to remember what the final score is, what the record is with the Browns. And I think when you come out of this with a victory over a Bears team that you should have beat, you're good with that. I mean, this is a week-to-week league. Nobody's really blowing anybody out unless it's the Colts and Steelers. But, this is a team that looks like they are meant to be in this race. It's not one of those teams where when I look at the Colts, I'm like, yeah, I don't know if the Colts really deserve to be there. When I look at the Browns, I'm like, they kind of earned it, bro. No matter what happened, they got it out the mud. They did what they needed to do. And at this time, it's all about dubs, especially in this AFC race that we're in right now. And they got a major one because there were a lot of teams that were in that position that either dropped the game or are all tied at that 8-6 record right now. So them getting to that 9th one was major for them. So I'll continue to see what the Browns look like, but they're already. I mean, CJ Stroud isn't playing, so what does that tell you? They about to win 10 games, dog, with pretty much, a lot of guys going, and that just speaks to coaching, Kevin Stefanski, and that message in that locker room. And I kind of talked about how Pittsburgh is, right? They're not buying in. Clearly, the guys in Cleveland are buying into what Stefanski's selling, and I think we kind of talked about it in the offseason, but what Jim Schwartz has done with that defense, you've got to get him some credit too. I mean, they are just completely shutting teams down when it comes to that defense over there, and he's getting the best out of some of those players, even when they're losing guys left and right. I think Zadarius Smith went down at one point in this game. I don't know if he's out, but it didn't matter.
Miles
didn't matter.
Miles took him out. And
that's the 4th player that has ran into Myles Garrett on the Browns that got hurt after running. That's how we lost Philadelphia for the year.
As long as you got Myles Garrett and him as the defensive coordinator, I don't think it matters. And then you got Stefanski to just manage it. I don't think it matters, but they do know how to win games too. You kind of talked about the Bengals know how to win games. This season, the Browns have kind of showed you that they've been able to close out these games, whereas in the past, that's kind of been a struggle, right? You go back to last year, the Jets game, they haven't had any of those games this season. You really saw them kind of master closing out these games, getting that game-winning field goal. There's been a bunch of them where I think it was the 49ers game that ended in a field goal. This game, it ended a field goal to win the game. So I think that that's something that you watch out for. And if you have to play this team coming down the stretch, it's a team that you got to take serious. You can't just look at it and be like, oh, it's Joe Flacco. Nah, Joe Flacco, when need be, can thread the needle and make the plays, and that's all that they're really requiring.
It's not Joe Flacco that you need to be worried about. It's Myles Garrett. That's the thing. And I know people in chat are telling me that the Browns defense is not what I say it is, but how else do you explain that they've beaten the 49ers and the Ravens? Both the 1 seeds right now, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Those are both the 1 seeds in the NFL. They beat both of those teams. One of those teams on the road. The other one with Philip J. Walker at quarterback. It wasn't because who he was playing. Well, I mean, Deshaun did a good amount in that game, right? But it's not like Deshaun was making all these crazy throws in that game. He just made some good plays. Defense, man. The defense is what carries this team. The defense has been what has been the main story on this team. Quarterback's been a footnote all year. And if you go into the Browns thinking, oh yeah, this who they quarterback, we got this, you're looking at it wrong because the quarterback's not what you need to be worried about. 95, 21, 22, 23, 0. Those are more threats to you winning than the quarterback position because those guys allow Joe Flacco to have one of the most egregiously bad 2.5 quarters of football that I've seen in a while and get away with it and still win simply because you couldn't score off them points.
I'm starting a new agenda, dog. Jim Schwartz needs to be another hot coaching candidate this offseason. Let's get him up out of there. Let's get him up out of there. He needs to be a coach, man.
He retired, baby. Yes, he's too old.
The only way he can
we on that Lou Adarubu program. Yes, sir.
The only way he goes to a head coaching job is college. Anyway, J-Rock, did you talk about this game?
No, I didn't.
But
I will say Joe Flacco is who we thought he was, man. Joe Flacco will give you them numbers, 300-400 yards, but he'll also 3 interceptions. I think that the Browns should have lost this game. I mean, like Q mentioned, Flacco threw almost 2 pick sixes. The one counted, and the other one got down to the 1 yard line. The one that we're not talking about, he threw in the red zone. So that was more points that was taken off the board. That was pretty much, a 21-point differential in the game. He also could have had more. It was a couple passes where though the players,
them turnover
players dropped. So he could have had more interceptions, but he just forces the ball into windows that are too tight. And he's done that over his career. So we know that about Joe Flacco. Yes, like I said, he can get you those numbers. Playoff Joe can probably manage you a game, but he's not going to win you the game. And I think that it was more incumbent upon the Bears not capitalizing on those opportunities. You had all those turnovers, then your special teams let you down twice. I think they muffed one punt and recovered it, and the other punt they lost. So, I mean, these are things that, they didn't recover from because, like you said, they couldn't score off of those opportunities. So, I mean, Justin Fields did play a good game. He played a decent game. He had good yards, and like you also said, the numbers kind of didn't speak to what Justin Fields' productivity was, because he ran for a good amount of yards and converted a lot of first downs. He also made some good plays. I mean, it's even the first touchdown that they scored, that scramble play that he made to throw the Kemet in the back of the end zone, that was an amazing play. I don't think I haven't seen him play like that probably since his rookie year. And I mean, that's really kind of what they really kind of expect out of him. So it just really was more so not being consistent for the Bears as far as offensively. They couldn't get it going. They couldn't run the ball, obviously, and it was dependent on Justin Fields and the Browns defense, to Q's point as far as their ferocity. They're good. They're a very good defense, and a lot of people don't want to see them at home. And I think that they fly under the radar a lot of times just because of maybe who they used to be, but who the Browns used to be and who they are now is not the same. So I could just, like I said, give it to the Joe Flacco stepping up and making those needle thread passes that people don't expect him to make, that he luckily made. But I mean, at the end of the day, that if that luck was on your side, then that's all you need. Because like I said, Amari Cooper made that touchdown, a long touchdown where he threaded the needle when nobody thought he was going to catch it. I thought it was going to be another interception because it was, if I'm not mistaken, between two players. So it made the catch, and Amari Cooper scored. David Njoku, I definitely have to give David Njoku, kudos. He's been stepping up the last few weeks. I think since Flacco's been there with his drops. He has not been dropping the ball as much, and I think in this game he was a pivotal part, and especially getting that last catch to get them in the field goal range.
That drive was on him for sure.
Yeah, it was definitely.
It was like 2 30-yarders or something like that. Yeah.
Right.
It was literally throw that shit up to David. It was one of them was literally, I'm getting blitzed. Dave, do so with it. And then Dave caught that thing, shook somebody off, and ran like Derrick Henry in his prime for another 20. Yeah, he's been incredible.
I mean, a few weeks ago, you couldn't catch him. You couldn't get him to catch nothing. I mean, that's why I say you got to give him.
He had 8 touchdowns if he would have been caught. There was one play with Deshaun against Baltimore where he just dropped it. It was right there. It was a 3rd and 9, and he just dropped it he would have scored if he would have caught that damn ball. And then he had 2 of them against Pittsburgh and another 2 against Denver.
Yeah. like I said, defense got after the fields, sacked him 3 times. But like I said, even with those plays being made, I think the Bears still could have won the game, even all the way down to the very, very last play where Mooney had a chance to catch the ball on his back. So I mean, I think it was just more so on the Bears not taking those opportunities to win the game, and I think the Browns capitalized on their opportunities when Joe Flacco stepped up, and then, like I said, the end of the game when the defense stepped up.
Okay, we have 2 super chats, and then we're gonna go to the last game. Q, how's your voice doing now after doing almost 6 hours of live podcasts?
I took a giant nap between these 2 podcasts, man.
And he also says, just got here, but Q, did we get our JOKs and elite linebacker agenda off yet?
Do I want to make Sonny mad today?
If you want to put this podcast for an extra hour, we can leave it for another day.
All I'm saying is that, JOK, he's the best playmaking linebacker in the North.
He's not consistent.
Makes more plays.
Playmaking linebacker? I don't know, Q.
Yeah, I don't know. But
all I'm saying is number 7 in TFLs. He's the only linebacker in the top 10.
And tackles for loss?
About interceptions.
Interceptions.
We speaking
He got 1 interceptions.
In particular, we talking about overall productivity.
I'm saying he the biggest playmaker linebacker in the NFL. Right now.
Okay, we will have to move from there because I think we're gonna have a lot of disagreement.
Hey, but you know what? I'll give Roquan Smith this.
There you go.
He's a good pro.
Oh wow.
He's a good professional. He's a professional. You know what I mean? Like, he gonna be where he's supposed to be, and he gonna help the guys get in the right position. Right? That's what y'all credit him for, right? He's the leader of the defense.
He is the leader of the defense.
Yeah, like Anthony Walker.
Yeah, nah. Okay, let's talk about this Ravens Jaguars game. It was a game that I think the Ravens played good. They didn't play their best football, in my opinion. The Jaguars also play as they wanted to lose this game. I think both things can be true. The Ravens played good. Lamar Jackson's numbers won't look great, but he had a really good game. The interception was bad, though. The interception was one of his worst interceptions. The guy baited him so bad. He could have run for the first down. He could have passed to Likely for the first down. He could have just shoveled to Likely for the first down. But he saw Nelson Aguilar there, like 5 yards deeper than Likely. He's like, I'm going to take him. It was picked. Other than that, the big play over there to Likely, hell of a play. But it was a bad decision. Ended up being a great play, but it was a bad decision.
No. When he Johnny Manziel that football to Isaiah Likely.
Isaiah Likely made a hell of a play.
No, man. I don't know. Lamar just decided, hey, man, I want to have fun today. Just do that.
So
he looked like he was doing backyard football.
That's what that was him having absolutely no respect for the Jacksonville Jaguars as an institution. Like, I would just do this. Like I'm at Louisville. I respect that is shit that you do when you're Louisville and you're playing like Murray State. Like, this is, you have no respect for your opponent as an institution. So I'm just going to try some stuff I would never try against a team I respect.
Likely made something that, and the crazy part is, Likely went and catch that ball like I had never seen. Likely, that's not get Likely's game. Like, high pointing that ball like that, rebounding that ball. Never seen like Likely's more like, give me a space and then I can make some people miss as a tight end. He said that he saw Likely getting open before that, and the pressure came. And as soon as he escaped from the pressure, he's like, you know what? He's still kind of open. Let me just throw it there. Again, Likely made a hell of a play. And it was a bad, like,
that is they have the 30th ranked pass defense, and I just saw Jake Browning and Joe Flacco go off on him. They not doing shit about anything I decide to do.
but again, my biggest point is, this is not this is not Likely's game. That's what surprised me. Right? Like, I was not expecting that. Like, Likely go jump on the whatever the corner was and high point that ball. I mean, that was nasty work by Likely. Lamar Jackson, they tried to bring him down. He was slippery. He ran more than he usually runs in this game, but the pressure was getting to him, and he was avoiding the pressure, and he was taking the runs. Not necessarily the design run. I think there was 2 design runs. Keenan Mitchell, I feel for the guy. Nasty injury. If you saw the picture, it was nasty. He ain't gonna be back for a minute.
They put him on IR, right?
I don't know if officially, but he's coming for IR. Yeah. He was that change of pace, fast back, and he was definitely a good complementary to Gus Edwards. We'll see.
He was kind of taking over, bro.
He was taking over.
Yeah, because I got Gus Edwards in fantasy. I'm like, damn, he done taking all the snaps, man.
Yeah. Well, the reality is they've been running the ball less in the past couple of weeks. But we'll see now without Keenan. I mean, like I said, it's kind of sad what happened. Also, Marcus Williams and Stanley left this game. But again, I'll go back to this. The offense for the Ravens. Look, I mean, we ended up putting whatever many points, 27, almost 30. I don't know. The offense played well enough. I wouldn't say like, oh my God, this offense looked spectacular. No issues. Right? They had their moments. They had some valleys too. Defensively, defense played good enough. There was a point there that the Jaguars couldn't move the ball against this defense, but the Jaguars also beat themselves. Like the 2 missed field goals, they were kind of far, especially for McManus, 50-55. And that last play of the game or of the half, like what is Lawrence thinking? Like I understand trying to get them off guard, but still, you have to know you haven't put points on the board. It's only 10-0, I think, at that point. Put the 3 and live with it, right? Especially the Ravens getting the ball in the second half. But he didn't do it. He thought to catch the Ravens off guard. And he should have seen the Ravens putting, like Rose calling the defensive play, that not expecting a clock in. But anyway, good play for Marcus Williams, although that was the play he got hurt. Look, the Ravens won.
That's unfortunate with Marcus too, because he this is like his 3rd injury in 2 years with the Ravens.
Well, it's the 3rd injury this year. He has a torn pec. He's been playing with a partially torn pec. He pulled his groin in this one. This is a game like road wins are never easy, right? I know Jacksonville hasn't had the best record on the road at home, but road games is never easy. Jaguars were a desperate team, especially after like the Jaguars knew the Colts and the Texans win, right? So they know they can't keep losing because they're about to lose that top seed in their division. So desperate team, but still took the game, took control of the game. Once they took control in that early 3rd quarter, the game never felt like, oh my God, the Jacksonville are coming back or anything. Trevor Lawrence seems flustered. That fumble, the first fumble, he had 2 fumbles, but the first fumble, he was scrambling and he sees 3 Ravens there. And he's like, I'm not about this life.
He just tripped.
He's just like, yeah. He's like,
he didn't even trip.
Nobody touched him.
Yeah, he just forgot how to hold a football.
Yeah,
like this. I could not have met. Like it just fell out of his hand. Yeah. Like, and I'm gonna tell you something right now. If you're on a sideline and you see Trevor Lawrence do that, the magic is gone. The magic is gone. Like, imagine the Bengals if they saw like Joe Burrow do that. The magic would be gone. Like, all right, this man is not who we thought he was. I don't know if I believe in him like that no more. Like that's a magic killer right there.
Yeah, I was never a huge Trevor Lawrence supporter, and I had to eat crow because he had some decent games here and there. But again, I think in that play when he saw the 3 Ravens, it was Millett, Rowe, and I think Marcus. He was like, nah, I'm not about to get hit. Let me drop it. And then the second one, Maravika about to get paid. He has right now better numbers than Aaron Donald's defensive player of the year year. So Maravika about to get paid. I'm not saying he's better than Aaron Donald, by the way, but he's about to get paid. And Lamar Jackson MVP, I think it's good, the talk and all that, but he ain't the MVP. To be honest, this is.
By the way, Sonny, you're welcome for Justin Madubuike on the Ravens. I put that in there. I put that in the universe for you. I told you Hey man, don't that sound like a dude who's gonna be good on the Ravens?
Yeah. Yeah, and you said hopefully the Browns get him, but yeah, you
Mhm.
did. I didn't even know about this guy. We were mock drafting,
We were
and
mock drafting him.
yeah,
Defensive tackle out of Texas A&M, just
Yeah.
about to book in. I was like, that sound like someone that be on the Ravens.
Yeah. Yeah.
They pop up with like 14 sacks
Yeah.
1 year. I'm like, all right. And it didn't happen.
Yeah. So, but what I was gonna say, Lamar Ravens fans with the MVP, I think this is the year. I think no quarterback should win this award. It should be either Christian McCaffrey or the Sheeta. Done. I don't want to hear no quarterback talk. I don't think no quarterback has played well enough to win the MVP. But again, Ravens win. I think solid win, good performance overall. We'll see next week against the Niners. I'm gonna go with you, Q, because you said you have to vent something about Mr. Goldilocks over there.
Trevor Lawrence, Baker Mayfield. Tell me how they that different.
Oh, I think Lawrence has more than 1 year.
Hmm?
Lawrence
No,
has
no.
more than.
Lawrence got that 1 year last year. Are they both? They're both players who can make some plus throws that get you excited. They're also both players who turn the ball over a lot. They're streaky. They're streaky quarterbacks. They're in the same vein as a Jay Cutler, as all them dudes that came before that everybody used to like hold on to hope that they're going to figure it out in year whatever and not be inconsistent anymore. But I think he's just inconsistent. And let's talk about he was kind of inconsistent in college. He just played in the ACC, so nobody cared that he was inconsistent. But this is who Trevor Lawrence is. We've been avoiding this because of Urban Meyer or all these other things. And then he throws 26 touchdowns and is a recipient of the Clippers being the Clippers or the Chargers, whatever you want to call them. They're the Clippers. They're just playing football instead of basketball. The Clippers blow and do the most Clipper thing that they can ever do. And then we give all the credit to the dude on the Jaguars and we act like he did something when we knew it was about the Clippers because the Clippers did that shit like 6 times this year where they done gave up big play, gave up big lead, decide to choke in the second half of a game because they the Clippers. So Trevor Lawrence has been living off that. I had to hear people on these talk radio shows talk about, oh yeah, you know he's in the same class as Mahomes. Oh yeah, is he gonna take Lamar's spot? Y'all, dog, Sonny, remember when the Lamar contract was coming out? They was acting like Lamar was in top 5 in the AFC. They was taking Lamar out to put Trevor Lawrence in. Lamar Jackson, who had won an MVP, Trevor Lawrence, 26 touchdowns one time. That's who they were putting in. And even at 26 touchdowns, y'all like, Baker Mayfield done had a season like that, dog. Like, how are we doing this? How are we doing this? How are we doing this? He's Baker Mayfield with 4-inch lifts and a nicer reputation, so we don't think about it like we think about Baker Mayfield, but he's the exact same type of quarterback what Baker Mayfield is. A streaky, sometimes he's good, sometimes he's not, but you always going to be praying that he's going to figure it out one day. And he's not. He's just this. He's inconsistent, and we need to treat him as such. He's a volatile quarterback. He's capable of greatness at times, but you're never really going to be able to rely on him that much. That's who he is. And that's who he was this 3-week stretch in the AFC. He played against 3 teams, 3 real defenses, 3 real playoff teams in a row. And he got exposed by every single one of them. Straight up. They're not ready. He's not ready. He's not who you think they are. And again, I said this about the Jacksonville Jaguars coming into this game. Every other team in the playoffs, you have something about them that you know that you need to prepare for. What is it about the Jacksonville Jaguars that scares you? When the Ravens got up, we're like, oh man, I gotta watch out. Who's gonna get the ball?
Yeah. No, like I said,
you are worried about a damn thing because they don't have anything that scares you. They don't have a defensive line that puts fear into your heart when it comes to pressure. They have a good run defense, but it doesn't matter because their pass defense is the cheeks. Like it doesn't even matter. So like, what do they have that actually puts you in a bind as a football team? And that's why they play these good teams and lose every time because they're not for real. They're not ready. They're only looking good against bad teams because they have better average talent than those teams. But when they play against somebody real, a team like Cleveland that has a defense, a real elite defense, or a team like Cincinnati that has real elite wide receivers, or a team like Baltimore that's a real elite quarterback, all of a sudden the diamond testers start beeping on them because they're not real. They don't have none of that shit. Okay, they have none of it. None of their shit's real. They out here walking around with the fake Gucci shoes, some fake red bottles, and a fake Louis scarf like it's theirs. And every time they show up against somebody with some real money, that gets exposed because they ain't got that real shit. They're the 14-year-old with designer on. Ain't none of that shit real that they got. It's all for play. It's all for show. They might as well not wear it because that's who they are right now. The Jaguars are frauds. And that takes nothing away from what the Ravens were able to do. They won a good game on the road against a solid enough team. They are a really good team. We've been saying that about the Baltimore Ravens. There's nothing to take away from them negatively there. But the big takeaway from this game is that the Jacksonville Jaguars, I don't know if you thought that they were AFC contenders. I don't know if you thought that they were going to get to the AFC Championship game. But let me tell you something. They don't want to see the Bengals. They don't want to see Joe Flacco. They don't even want to see Gardner Minshew in the playoffs, dog. They're that fraudulent.
Yeah. I don't disagree. Ace, what do you think, man?
Yeah, man. When you guys described that Trevor Lawrence play, like where he just ran, he saw them and then he just fumbled. That's what the hell the Jackson did the last 3 games against the AFC North, dog. They're done. I don't see them bouncing back from this. Say that again. Oh yeah, except for Pittsburgh. But I mean,
except for Pittsburgh, they smacked.
That's when they won their run, right? Like this team, bro. Like I'm not gonna take anything away from the Ravens. Ravens came out and handled business. But I'm not even a Jags fan, and I was just frustrated and just kind of in disbelief by how they came out at the beginning of the game. You missed 2 field goals. Not long field goals for real, like medium side. Like the dude misses 2 field goals. Then you get
such a fraudulent start to this game.
Trevor Lawrence, they run out, and then they do the thing with the weird thing where they run out of time. They could have had the lead several times in this game, and then it kind of was similar to the thing that we've been talking about. A lot of these teams didn't seize the momentum. Like the momentum was there for them to grab it. And then they lost the momentum, and one team just completely took over the momentum and just coasted with it. Baltimore went out and handled business. If you're Jacksonville, I just don't know. Like now you're at a point where you might not even win your division, dog. Like you might not. Like the division is up for grabs now. Everybody in that division is tied right now after their loss to the Ravens. And here's the thing: maybe if it was a fight against the Ravens and it was close, like maybe by a touchdown, maybe a 3-point win by the Ravens, maybe you have some kind of optimism, even though you just got torched by Jake Browning and Joe Flacco back-to-back before that. Maybe you have some sort of faith. You got blown out, dog. I was watching that game. I went to sleep early. I was like, oh, this one's done. I'm not staying up until 11 or whatever. Nah, dog. This one is over. So I feel like the Ravens, they came out and handled business. It sucks about Keaton Mitchell. I think that they really found something there with that kid. I think that he was going to be the next Ravens running back, right? I felt like they had something with that kid. I'm so sorry for him. Hopefully,
and it's such a cursed thing too, because they just lost J.K. Dobbins earlier this year to an Achilles. Right. And that was the guy that you thought was going to be the next dude up. Keaton Mitchell appears out of nowhere, and that looked bad. He stopped his momentum, and his whole leg went, oof. Yeah, that was rough.
Yeah, but I got to continue to dunk on the Jags. Jamal Agnew is your leading receiver, a special teamer. Like, what are we doing, dog? That was your leading receiver. What happened to Calvin Ridley? What happened to Evan Ingram? What happened to any of these guys? Parker Washington, you found him a few weeks ago. What happened?
Their leading rusher was Trevor Lawrence in this game with 41 yards.
The Jaguars do not look like a team that is ready to compete for anything right now. Like, they don't look like, and I don't know what's going on with Doug Peterson. Maybe this is why he was let go in Philadelphia. But they just do not look like a contender whatsoever after playing 3 teams in the North, after playing the Ravens. The Ravens pretty much just cruised in this one, man. They were able to play solid defense. They were able to just pretty much play their game and get out of it. I think the biggest thing you get out of this is the chemistry with Likely is there. You know, after them losing a guy like Mark Andrews, I think you're able to see that. I think, did Odell get hurt in this one? Did they pull him out of the game?
No, he was in and out, but he was massaging his ankle. So I don't know.
Okay.
Also, I would like to point out the Browns had a more difficult time beating the Bears this week than they did beating the Jaguars last week. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're just not a good team, man. And I know we like to slander Baker Mayfield on here. Man, look pretty good this weekend, though. 381 yards, 4 touchdowns, right now. 78% completion percentage. Might be taking the Bucks. Might be taking the NFC South.
Hey, they play each other this weekend.
And I'm telling you, I'm not convinced that Baker Mayfield isn't the better quarterback, especially with the weapons. Like, and that's not even a slight to Baker Mayfield. It's like, hey man, this is what I told people in the summer. You did not have to be early at Trevor Lawrence because we was just so eager to put him in these conversations. I remember, Ace, where people like ESPN was out here comparing him to Patrick Mahomes.
Oh no, I remember because like he was supposed to be.
They put him past Joe Burrow. It was like
Joe Burrow.
Yeah,
I remember when we were taking Joe Burrow. They were like, "Nah, this guy Trevor Lawrence next year, he's gonna be the best prospect in the last decade."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's not looking like it, dog. Like he's not bad, but he's not living up to the hype at all. Especially like in this position, you're supposed to rise to the occasion. And I get it. I don't know what the ankle situation is. I'm not gonna give him any slack for that because you showed up and you strapped up and played both of these games and you lost both of them. So I think the Jaguars are dumb, man. It sucks to say that because it seemed like it literally was just like 3 weeks ago. They were looking like, oh, they might be a top team in the AFC. Now it's like, nah, they're not there. They're not there.
I mean,
go ahead.
No, I was asking, who's going to take the South, the Colts?
I mean, maybe. I don't like right now. Now, I was gonna say the Texans up until they just said CJ Stroud is out again. So
they saying he has a difficult time seeing light.
I'm not trying to give spoilers for this Friday show, but you kind of know where I'm going with that.
Like he's probably done for the year if we're being honest. Like that kind of concussion, that young of a player, he's done.
And usually you know it, like when the dudes just had a concussions where they miss 1 week, that's a certain type of concussion. When you miss in 2 weeks, oh nah, I done seen that stretch to 3 or 4, like those type of ones. So,
and then if you get another one, you can end up with like permanent concussion syndromes. Like you got to be careful.
That's how Tua is going to be.
So maybe it's the Colts. That would be nasty. I don't think anybody whoever placed that bet in the offseason is going to have some.
The Jacksonville saving grace is that they go from playing the best division in football to 2 NFC South teams.
Right.
And look, I think Trevor Lawrence is overrated as hell. He not losing to no damn Bryce Young and Will Levis.
Nah,
quite. He already lost to Will Levis, right? No, he didn't lose. But I don't know if they losing that one. But
here's the thing.
Definitely like the team you can identify in the playoffs. You're like, nah, I want them.
The Colts got the Falcons, the Raiders, and the Texans.
Think about that, though. The Jacksonville Jaguars are the team that you want to play in the playoffs. And there are 2 teams that are going to make the playoffs, maybe 3. They're going to make the playoffs with backup quarterbacks.
That's kind of crazy.
And you're like, every single one of them is like, nah, we want the Jaguars.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see next week. There's a lot of good, interesting matchups next week. We have one more super chat before we close. Mighty Mulatto here says, welcome to the AFC North Talk, J-Rock.
Appreciate you, sir.
So guys, make sure you like. If you haven't subscribed to the channel. Also commented, what do you thought about all these games? AFC North again showing up this week. I know the Steelers didn't win, but overall, the AFC North showed up this week. Next week should be an interesting one. We will see y'all next time. Peace out.